Mr. Rothman for 5 minutes.
Sir, may I respond to the gentleman who just
No,
spoke?
you may not. The gentleman from Wisconsin has the time.
Mr. Chairman, you have said throughout this hearing that at the conclusion of the questioning, the witness would be permitted to respond. Is that rule now changed?
No question directed to him.
That's not true, Mr. Chairman.
It's true.
Well, he has a response he'd like to give to the committee. You said throughout the day that was the procedure. Now you're changing it. We're just going to allow people to make claims.
The gentleman is completely out of order.
No, Mr. Chairman, you're out of order.
No, the time belongs to the gentleman from Wisconsin, and he may proceed.
Mr. Chairman, you indicated, you must remember that
The gentleman is
the
not in
gentleman
order.
could
The
answer the question.
The chair has recognized
I
the gentleman
beg
from
of you
Wisconsin.
to allow the gentleman, at the end of this long hearing, to be able to explain conflicts in representation that have been made by various persons on the panel.
The gentleman from Wisconsin
Well,
may proceed.
it seems to me that on advice of counsel, a lot of the things we want to find out here today, we're not going to find out. But I'd like to focus a little bit on the milieu in which you operate in the FBI. When I look at this area around Washington, D.C., I look, and we had a candidate run for president who ran on the promise to drain the swamp. When I look at the election results in the areas in which you and other people who work for the government around here live, I see a monolithic, almost monolithic mindset that can be illustrated in the election results in the area. Things that, given the country as a whole, was almost half for the candidate who wanted to drain the swamp and half for the candidate who didn't. You look District of Columbia, 4% for Donald Trump, Prince George County, 8%, Arlington, Virginia, 17%, Alexandria, 18%. I mean, things that in Wisconsin, 72 counties, and normally we're about a 50-50 state. There's not one county in which you have that, everybody voting together. So I want to dig into a little bit about the milieu in which you hang around with. Now, at the time where Mr. McCabe, who I believe was Miss Page's boss, at the time his wife ran for Congress, or was Congress, or was it maybe a state elected position, you referred to people who lived in a county just beyond Washington, D.C., a little bit more normal, still a Democratic county. You referred to them as this county, Loudoun County, is being gentrified, but it's still largely ignorant hillbillies. Now, I don't mean to embarrass you in that, because it doesn't surprise me that people in this swamp would refer to people, once you get a couple hours away from Washington, as ignorant hillbillies. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody was inadvertently got a hold of emails and people were saying that in the newsroom at MSNBC. It wouldn't surprise me if they were saying it in the Department of Interior or the Department of Education. It disappoints me a little bit that they were saying it in the FBI. But I'm going to ask you, in the areas of which people you congregate in your business, how you obviously talked about politics. How many people do you run into, say, in the Washington office here, who are overtly supporting President Trump?
When you say in the office, sir, a couple of things, and you may not have been here this morning. I do not view the people of Loudoun County as ignorant hillbillies. I live in an adjacent county, and much like in Wisconsin, you might look at folks in Minnesota with a sense of rivalry.
I know people like you.
I regret that statement, and I
know you regret it. I know it's one of those things that you never thought would come out. But
when you say the office, sir, I don't understand what you mean by around the office.
People who you work with on a daily basis.
I don't tend to know who they support, sir.
Well, it's apparent in the emails that you exchanged with Ms. Page, that not only with regard to her opinions, but you could obviously, the McCabes were very political in nature. You must have some general opinions of the politics of the people you work around. You were not shy about sharing your political opinions.
Right. My sense is the FBI, including me, is a very conservative, typically, organization. They believe in law and order. They believe in a strong national defense.
I'm going to say, when it comes
traditionally, sir, that
to draining the swamp or otherwise,
I'm sorry, sir?
in areas in which I've worked in the past, prior to getting involved in politics, I could almost always tell you or have an opinion where people come down to on these issues. You are not shy about talking about politics. I want to know, in the social circle that you hang around with, including at work, maybe you get at home, do you ever run into people who would have voted for President Trump, people who you know?
Yes.
Would you guess in the FBI, like I said, we rattled off the percentage of people voting for President Trump in the surrounding counties. Looks like overall maybe less than 1 in 6, just amazing. Could you comment again on your comment, largely ignorant hillbillies? And there are a lot of people who think like you in this swamp. Okay, it's not unusual, probably a lot of lobbyists probably feel that way, congressional staffers. Could you comment in general on the political viewpoint of the people who work in the Washington office with you?
The general perspective, as I just said, sir, the most FBI agents, in my experience, tend to be strongly conservative.
Not outside of Washington.
Strongly law in Washington, D.C. Strongly conservative, strongly law and order, strongly national defense. Up until the current date, very strongly Republican. I don't know. I couldn't tell you what people did or didn't vote for this election because we don't tend to talk about that.
Guess I'm out of time.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Gomez.